continues.
Visit GCNlive.com today.
Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As we're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
Have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at prisonplanet.tv.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Great talk radio starts here. We now take you live
to the Central Texas Command Center
in the heart of the resistance. You're listening to the Alex Jones Show.
Okay, we have opened up our phone lines live into the 5th hour for military personnel only. What have you been hearing about Japan? What's really going on? About deployments, the fleet pulling out. Caller earlier, and I'm getting emails saying that they're preparing for earthquakes in the U.S., saying it's going to happen. Secretary of Defense Cohen back in '97 said that there are governments and terrorists who are developed tectonic weapons. Yeah, like the globalists that run our country. Could this be a tectonic rollout as they bring in global crisis? Or is it the sun and the moon manipulating tectonic plates with a solar flare and the moon being closer to the Earth than it's been since 1992, 19 years ago? All of this plays in. But we are going to be opening the phones up here for military people or emergency personnel who can confirm this. 877-789-ALEX is the number for you to call and join us as we go into hour number 5. Here's some of the news. I'm going to continue with news as we track this and start going to your calls. U.S. government blocking Americans from obtaining potassium iodide. Panic buying stocks of potassium iodide exhausted in the U.S., as well as many areas of Europe and Asia. Mass evacuations begin from northeast of Japan and Tokyo as the scale of the nuclear disaster unfolding at the stricken Fukushima nuclear power plant begins to finally be realized. We've been correct on that front. Despite the Japanese government's continued underplaying of the situation, mass evacuations are now underway with people fleeing Tokyo and northeastern areas of the country in order to avoid a toxic cloud of radiation heading their way. Continuing, radioactive winds head towards Tokyo as some flee capital. That's the earlier article. All on prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. Being updated 24 hours a day as this unfortunately worsens and deteriorates. Japanese Prime Minister attempts to calm nation as mass radiation spreads. U.S. Navy low-level radiation detected at some Tokyo area bases. Continuing online monitors at different Tokyo facilities and other smaller towns around the country are reporting escalations of between 20 and 100 times normal levels of radiation, and those detectors can only pick up certain types of radiation. There's many different isotopes blasting out of the Fukushima facility that has had now 4, perhaps 5 massive explosions, including the mushroom cloud as the Mark 1 plutonium uranium-based reactor exploded in a huge mushroom cloud. They now admit reactor 2 at least has a breached central containment facility. That is super bad news. That's Chernobyl news. We don't know how bad it is. The Japanese Prime Minister yesterday and today has been ordering Tokyo Electric Power employees, 500 of them, back in. It appears they're refusing to go back in, and so you basically got 6 reactors going completely haywire, fires, explosions. It isn't good, okay? And I told listeners who were in Japan Friday, and you heard me, I said, get out of Tokyo. Go south, because the winds at that time were going northeast, but I said it may turn south later, but the north predominantly gets most of the winds. Get out of there. There's no perfect advice. I'm telling you what I would do. That's where people are going. The government's saying go south. 4 days later. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days later. So, again, not tooting our horn. We're giving overall good information. We're not perfect. We're trying our best. We're putting our heads together, talking to you. I am waiting for phone calls to come in from the military or other emergency personnel. Have you been told to prepare for earthquakes here in the United States? Have we gotten any calls? You didn't have your mic open. Okay, the phone lines are open. I appreciate listeners not calling if they don't have specific information. And we're having no military personnel calling in to confirm what the earlier caller said. Now, the guy sounded, nice, but you can't believe just what some caller says. But you look at Steve Watson's article where a lot of different people, organizations that study earthquakes connecting it to the moon being closer to the earth and the sun are saying there's higher probability of earthquakes. And obviously, California is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Headline, both Japan and New Zealand earthquakes, volcanic eruptions were precisely predicted last month by solar watchers. Very important article. Continuing, Brisbane Times, blast escalate Japan's nuclear crisis. Explosions at fire at Japan's quake-hit nuclear plant have unleashed dangerous levels of radiation, sparking a collapse of the stock market and panic buying in supermarkets. Continuing, the UN Weather Agency said the winds were currently blowing radioactive materials towards the ocean and that there were no implications for Japan or countries nearby. I don't know what that means. France's Nuclear Security Authority said the disaster now equated to a 6 on the 7-point international scale for nuclear accidents, ranking the crisis second only in gravity to Chernobyl. Europe's Energy Commissioner Gunther Oettinger dubbed the nuclear disaster an apocalypse, saying Tokyo had almost lost control of events at the Fukushima power plant. There is talk of an apocalypse, and I think the world is particularly well chosen. Again, there is talk of apocalypse, and I think the word is particularly well chosen, he said in remarks to the European Parliament. Japan, however, maintained its assessment of the disaster at 4, placing it behind the 3 Mile Island accident in the United States in '79. Oh, give me a break. 3 Mile Island was nothing compared to this. This is just amazing. Japan, radiation linking directly into the air. Reuters, Vienna. Japan has told the UN nuclear watchdog radioactivity was being released directly into the atmosphere from the site of the earthquake-stricken reactor. And again, reactor 2, its core containment facility is breached. We don't know how bad. And I guess they're seeing that from aircraft because there's really no personnel there, reportedly. And that it had put out the fire at a spent fuel storage pond there. That's some good news, if you can believe it. The International Atomic Energy Agency, citing information received from Japanese authorities at 3:50 GMT, said on Tuesday, dose rates of up to 400 millisivert per hour have been reported at the Fukushima power plant site. It did not give details or comparisons of the radiation level, but exposure to over 100 milliverts a year is a level which can lead to cancer. So you're getting 400 milliverts when you're there for an hour or less, and 100 in a year. More than 100 is bad news. Because we all live in a radiation-baked environment. We're close to a sun just blasting different types of radioactive wavelengths at us. So we're designed to live in this, but not at these levels. The Japanese, that's one reason we die, folks. It breaks down our DNA. We're living in just radiation. The Japanese authorities are saying there is a possibility that the fire was caused by a hydrogen explosion. The IAEA said in a statement. It later said that the fire had been extinguished at Unit 4 of the plant. In Japan, authorities warned radiation levels had begun significantly higher around the nuclear power plant on Tuesday after explosions at 2 reactors, and the French embassy said low-level radioactivity wind could reach Tokyo within hours. Hours has now elapsed, the reporting the radiation levels going up. An IAEA said it has been informed that the spent fuel pond at Reactor 4 of Fukushima nuclear power plant is on fire and radioactivity is being released. So they put it out at one but not at the other, directly into the atmosphere. Spent nuke fuel pond may be boiling. Further radiation leak feared. Radiation levels soar as Japan nuke plant fire. AP. We've got... We have Urethi in Texas. Urethi, do you have any intel specifically on the military? Are you in the military saying that they're preparing for imminent natural disasters in the U.S.? Is it a drill, or are they, or is your intel that they're saying it's imminent?
Yes, I have a cousin stationed at Fort Cox, and they're preparing for a radiological attack. Oh, God.
That's a joke, caller. Man, buddy, this isn't funny. I know in America we've been brainwashed by TV. Males are put into an arrested development at about a 7-year-old level. But, you know, just for him, so I can take a 2-minute break while we get some more callers lined up, can we play that clip of Attention American Pigs? You know that particular clip? Yeah, it's up there in the board. That I did a month or so ago to describe the globalist view of us. And, you know, the caller thinks it's real funny that all of this is happening. And I will assure you it will not be funny if this continues to melt down. And if plutonium and uranium gets out and we're watching a bunch of dead Japanese people, and then that radiation comes over here and the government tells you that everything is okay and basically tells you that everything... I've seen it up on the computer board, just so you know. I've seen it in one of those blocks. Or you can play the ultimate red pill if you want, and I'll go out there and look. I forget the name of it, though. It's also all over YouTube. Somebody did a video version of it where it says Alex Jones taken over by the New World Order. I probably shouldn't even... It's not even a joke, though. I mean, I did the piece, basically, from the globalist, you know, perspective on us and what they think of us. So the prankers are out there. They think it's very funny. Since I promised to take phone calls, we'll just open the phones up to the general public, 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-ALEX. Now, to give us your overall quick 30-second... It's almost like radio graffiti, as one talk show host I know calls it. I forget his name. What's the... Combs from Fox calls it radio graffiti. Just your quick 30-second statement, and I'm going to the next person. Boom, boom, boom. Deborah in Idaho, you're on the air. Are you a military caller or just one of the other callers?
I'm a medical professional, and I just got off the phone with the EPA. I called I've been tracking this website, the RadNet, which is the Tracking Environmental Radiation Nationwide Network. And I went in there to try to find out, you know, what we were doing here locally in Idaho. And I called the local EPA number here, and they referred me to Seattle. And I have a phone call into them, and they're supposed to return my call. The thing I was concerned about is that the website is inaccessible. They have taken the website down so that you cannot get any live streaming of baseline radiation measurements here in the U.S. And well, I called the main laboratory in Montgomery, Alabama, which is where they send the specimens to be measured once they're taken at these various sites across the country. And they, on their website, it states whether they are either always in emergency or routine mode. And I asked them, and they said that they were in emergency mode and that they are deploying personnel to the West Coast.
Again, ma'am, can you give us specific facilities that you were talking to so we can make phone calls? And guys? Yes.
The laboratory is located in Montgomery, Alabama. It's the National Air and Radiation Environmental Laboratory. The phone number is 334...
Hold on, let's not give it out on air or it'll flood them. Do me a favor. I'm going to put you on hold. Will you give us the full name and the phone number, and I will call it live on air here in just a few minutes, okay?
Well, they referred me to the Washington, D.C. office. They really didn't want to handle any phone calls. She was kind of hesitant to talk to me or tell me anything. And I tried calling the Washington, D.C. phone number, and I'm getting a recording.
Well, that's big breaking news if the federal government is deploying people to the West Coast ahead of fallout, showing that they know it's a real danger. This is unbelievably huge. We have limited personnel today of all days. They're doing a great job scrambling in there. Ma'am, I'm going to put you on hold and give us that full name again and that phone number. And before they tell them not to talk to us, I'm going to call them live here on air in just a moment. Bill, will you get on the line with her?
Well, I have several different phone numbers.
Okay, well, give us the one. What was the name of the person that you talked to